Most people are going to get this wrong, not because they don't understand math, but because they don't understand one simple mathematical rule, and it's costing them on a simple equation like this one. Stick around, because once you see this rule, you'll never miss this type of question again. So it says 10 divided by 2 times 5. So in this equation, what most people do is they start by multiplying 2 by 5. And 2 times 5 is actually 10. So the problem becomes 10 divided by 10. And 10 divided by 10 is equal to 1. So these people get the answer 1, right? So I'm going to label this as answer A. These people say the answer is 1. And other people solve this differently. These people solve the problem from left to right. So they do 10 divided by 2 first. And 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. And 5 times 5 would be the next equation, which equals 25. So this group gets answer B. They get 25. So what is the actual answer to this equation? That is the problem I am going to fix for you. One of these two would be the answer, but we don't know yet which one. And I am going to explain the rule you need to follow when you do these kinds of mathematical operations, so you won't get this wrong ever again. So I would appreciate it if you put your answer in the comments before I move on to the explanation and the rule you need to remember. So here, the question we had was just one question, but we got 2 answers. This is because of the way we did the operation, right? The order of operations. In the first approach, we started by multiplying 2 and 5. And in the second, we started by dividing 10 by 2. But which one is actually right? Because answer A does feel right, and answer B does feel right too. Which is the actual correct answer? They are both mathematically reasonable. They both didn't violate any obvious rule of calculation, but only one answer is correct. So let me walk you through the rule. This is the rule, and it is called the order of operations, and it tells us which sequence to follow when we do operations. This is a fundamental rule, and it works for every equation. So you must remember this rule and not forget it. You probably learned this back in school, but you probably forgot about it, and you have to remember it again to solve math problems correctly. The rule states that parentheses is the first thing to solve. Then the second thing to solve is exponents, meaning after you do all the parentheses, you move to solving exponents. But before solving the parentheses, you cannot move to exponents. That is the idea. And after you solve exponents, you move to multiplication or division. Here is what most people miss. They think multiplication comes before division, but that is actually wrong. Multiplication and division have the same priority, the third priority, right? So parentheses is the first priority. After we do all the parentheses, we move to exponents, the second priority. After we do all the exponents, we move to multiplication and division. But for multiplication and division, we solve them whichever comes first, right? We solve them left to right, whichever comes first, meaning we may encounter multiplication first, or we may encounter division first. But the idea is we solve whichever comes first in order to get the equation right. The last priority is addition and subtraction. These are on the fourth priority, and they are solved last. Again, when we deal with these kinds of problems, we solve from left to right. So that is the idea. Now, for a quick summary, I am going to summarize this for you. You need to remember the acronym PEMDAS, right? So what does this mean? P stands for parentheses, E for exponent, M for multiplication, D for division, A for addition, and S for subtraction. So that is what these letters stand for, and it is said PEMDAS. And if you can't remember it that way, you can just remember this sentence. please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This is actually a classic way to remember PEMDAS. Please for parentheses, excuse for exponents, my dear for multiplication and division, Aunt Sally for addition and subtraction. This is the way a lot of us remembered it back in school, so you can use this trick too. So I am going to recap the order of operations one more time, so it is completely clear. Picture this as a pyramid showing priority. The top priority is parentheses, at the very top of the pyramid. The second priority is exponents, right below parentheses. Then we have multiplication and division on the same priority, meaning we solve them whichever comes first. And at last, addition and subtraction, sitting at the base of the pyramid. So I am going to walk through an example with you. I found this on Facebook, posted by a math teacher, and I think that's the poster's name. So here we have an equation that includes every element we just discussed. 4 plus, parentheses open, 12 minus 7, parentheses closed, squared, times 3. So we perform the operation inside the parentheses first, because parentheses has the highest priority. So 12 minus 7 is equal to 5. And 5 squared is going to be the next operation, because after we solve all the parentheses, we move to exponents. So 5 squared is equal to 25, as you can see here. So the equation simplifies to 4 plus 25 times 3. So here we have to do the multiplication first before we move to the addition. So we multiply 25 by 3 and we get 75. And 75 plus 4 is 79. So this is the correct way to solve it. So let's go back to our original problem. So 10 divided by 2 times 5 is our problem. So here we have division and multiplication. Which one should we do first when they are on the same priority? We solve them whichever comes first, from left to right. So here, the division comes first. So 10 divided by 2 is simply 5. And 5 times 5 is going to be the next step, which gives us 25. So what is it actually? The answer is 25. So 25 is the correct answer. For those of you who answered 25, I want to congratulate you with a little smiley face. And for those of you who didn't, I'll give you a smiley face too, because you stuck with this video to the end. And now you will never get this kind of question wrong again. Let me know in the comments if you got 25 right away, or if you landed on 1 first, like a lot of people do. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.